So next topic, let's talk about how to identify vertex and axis of symmetry of a quadratic function. You may see some redundant stuff. Okay, we already talked about in the previous video. So if quadratic function given you in standard form, and then we can use this formula to find the vertex. Okay, which is x coordinates. Okay, if we vertex, we use h and k represent. Okay, so why we don't use the x and the y? Because we consider vertex as a special points on the parabola. Okay, so we have a formula for that. Earlier we talked about, we can write quadratic function from standard form to vertex form, right? So we can identify vertex right away. But, without writing in vertex form, actually we can, find a vertex using this formula. X coordinates of vertex, we call it h equals negative b over 2a. Okay, remember this formula. So once quadratic function is given, and then we can identify coefficient a and b value, and then we can calculate the x coordinates of vertex right away by this formula, h equals negative b over 2a. And then because vertex is a point on quadratic function, right? So that will satisfy this quadratic function. Therefore, we plug in x by negative b over 2a. So in other words, we evaluate f of negative b over 2a, and then we can find its corresponding y coordinates, and then that is the k. Okay, so y coordinates, we can evaluate function when x equals negative b over 2a. And also we noticed the axis of symmetry is a vertical line, right, passing through vertex. Therefore, axis of symmetry, okay, this vertical line we can write as x equals negative b over 2a. Okay, they must have the same x coordinates, right, vertex and axis of symmetry. So be careful, okay, axis of symmetry represent a line. Okay, is this a vertical line is the axis of symmetry. That's why you cannot use a value. Okay, you cannot say a axis of symmetry equals negative b over 2a. No, it's a line. So you have to write into the equation. Okay, it's not a point, not a single value. It's 100 millions of points on this line. That's why you have to use x equals negative b over 2a to represent. Okay, so negative b over 2a, that is a constant, right? So in other words, x equals a constant. That's matching the line equation, right, for the vertical line. We learned that before. So when the parabola open up, which is leading coefficient a greater than 0 case, and a quadratic function have a minimal value, okay, it occurs right at the vertex x equals negative b over 2a. Okay, the minimal value is f of negative b over 2a. If the parabola open down, which means the leading coefficient a is less than 0, okay, then vertex is the highest point on the parabola, right, which is the function have a maximal value. It occurs when x equals negative b over 2a. All right. So now let's look at the example. Without graphing, locate vertex and axis of symmetry of parabola defined by this quadratic function. And also answer the question, does it open up or down? So first, given quadratic function, we can identify the coefficient a, b, c's right away, right? A equals negative 3, right? Only numerical value of x second power term. B equals positive 6, numerical value of x first power term. C equals 1, which is the constant term. Okay, we identify 3 coefficients. And because A equals negative 3, which is a negative number, therefore parabola open what? Up or down? open down, right? So parabola open down. And then we find a vertex, okay, and axis of symmetry. All right. We know the x coordinates of vertex h equals negative b over 2a, right? And then we just plug in those numbers. That's negative b equals 6. 2 times a, that's 2 times negative 3, right? And then negative cancel out, become a positive, and then we got a 6 divided by 2 times 3, 6, so that's equals 1. So x coordinates of vertex equals 1, and then y coordinates, we evaluate f of 1. So replace x by positive 1, we got a negative 3 times 1 squared plus 6 times 1 plus 1, right? Those value in the parentheses, that's the independent variable x value. And then we simplify, negative 3 times 1 squared is still 1, right? So that's still negative 3 plus 6 plus 1. So that's 3 plus 1, that's 4. So the vertex coordinates is 1, 4, right? And the axis of symmetry is a vertical line passing through the vertex. That's why line equation is x equals 1. Okay, this is axis of symmetry. All right. And that's the book solution. You can double check. We got the same, right?